Now I'm going to take you through a different scenario that you could be given. The last thing that I talked about using the law of cosines here was when you were given two sides and an angle, and that angle was between those two sides. We call that side angle side. The next thing I want to talk about is if you are given three sides to a triangle. For example, if you have this triangle right here, and we'll call this A, B, C, and you're given that side A has a measure of 8, side B has a measure of 9, and side C has a measure of 7. Notice that we don't have any angles whatsoever, so I'm going to find that angle. So we're now given the sides of that triangle. We refer to that as being given side, side, side. Now, with the last example, when we came to a point, if you remember back here, we found that third side, and then after we found that side, we were looking for an angle. And I found that angle in that case by using the law of sines. But here, I'm again looking for an angle, but I can't use the law of sines because I can't have an angle on its opposite side because I don't know any of the angles. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to find the smallest of those angles. The smallest of those angles will be the one opposite the smallest side. Now, which one's the smallest side? Right, this side right here. So if you look at the law of cosines, since this is the side that I'm going to be focused on, I'm going to say 7 squared equals, and this can be opposite that angle C. So here's what I'll do. I'll say 7 squared equals 8 squared plus 9 squared minus 2 times 8 times 9 times the cosine of angle C. And what this is a big equation where I'm going to try to get this cosine of C all by itself. One thing I want you to notice is all of this stuff right here is together. That's all one big term right there. So I'm going to take this 8 squared over to the other side of the equation, and I'm going to take that 9 squared to the other side of the equation by subtracting those from both sides. So I'm going to do that right now. I'll do that on the calculator here and take 7 squared minus 8 squared minus 9 squared. And that gives me negative 96. So I get negative 96 over here. Okay, so I get negative 96 here equals, and then I'm going to go ahead and multiply this out, this negative 2 times 8 times 9, which I believe is negative 144. I'll double check that here. Negative 2 times 8 times 9. Yep, negative 144. So I get negative 144 times the cosine of C. Again, I'm trying to solve this for the cosine of C, so I'm going to divide through by that negative 144. And when I do that, I'm going to take, and it's important to keep the negatives in there. I have negative 96 divided by negative 144, and that gives me this decimal. That decimal is what is the cosine of C. Now, it was a decimal of 0.666 repeated, and I'll just kind of carry that on. I put a little line above that, whatever I want to do. But regardless, what I'm going to do is find the actual angle there. So to find the angle, I'm going to go inverse cosine this time now, because this is what the cosine of C is equal to. So I hit the inverse cosine of that last answer, and that gives me 48.2 degrees. So angle C is 48.2 degrees. All right, so if I fill that into my triangle there, now I have a pair of an angle and its opposite side. As soon as I have that, I can then use the law of sine. So I have sine of 48.2 over 7 equals the sine of, now I'm going to find the smaller of these two angles. I'm always finding the smaller angle. So I'm going to find opposite that 8 there, since it's smaller than 9. So I'll say the sine of A over 8. Okay, so I'm going to take on the calculator here. I'm going to take 8 times the sine of 48.2. I'm going to close it out. I'm going to divide that by 8. No, I'm not. I'm going to divide that by 7, sorry. And that will give me 0.8519, but I'm going to take the inverse sine of that, because remember, now I'm using the law of sines here. I'll take the inverse sine of that answer, and I get 58.4 degrees. So angle A is 58.4 degrees. Okay, so far I've said that angle C is 48.2 degrees. I said that angle A is 58.4 degrees. And then to find angle B, what I'll do is I will subtract those two angles from 180. All right, so I'll take 180 minus 48.2 minus 58.4. And that will give me 73.4 degrees. All right, so that was an example of if you are given three sides.